Good evening, treasure seekers. Welcome back to Treasures Galore. My name is Michael Elder, and this video might be the most important video I make on this treasure hunt. It is going to go over a theme in one of the chapters that I feel is trivial to finding the lion's share box. Now, before I get into that, I want to go over a few things. First thing is this YouTube channel is strictly for just me to share my thoughts about the treasure hunt, and that's it. I have no other motives beyond that. This YouTube channel, I'm not going to have an introduction song. I am not going to, do a whole bunch of crazy things, right? That these other YouTubers do. I have no desire to make money off this video or this channel. I have no desire to really grow it. You know what I mean? All I want to do is just produce content and hear back from you guys. I get so much joy just out of that. And so one of the comments I received is, "Oh, it's funny how you're plugging these other channels, but they don't plug you." First off, I could care less. I really could care less, right? I will plug whoever I want to plug. I I want other channels to be successful. It's not a competition on subscribers or anything like that. When I see a good video or good content being put out, and I want to give a shout out to them. So if anyone listening to this video hasn't listened to that, then they can go listen to it to help them out. There's Treasure Inside, the unofficial podcast. They make great content. They go through the book. I really enjoy listening to their videos. In the previous video, I brought up a video by a guy named Matt. Very intelligent guy, and the work he is doing is great. I mean, he brings a more analytical approach to possibly solving this. So, shout out to him. Obviously, K-Pro and Calazars, they make great videos too, and they have more, I guess, I wouldn't say insider knowledge, but, they bring a lot to this community, and not just for there's Treasure Inside, but so many other different treasure hunts. Like Justin Posey's Beyond the Map's Edge, that's coming out. That's exciting. The Netflix documentary on the Forrest Fenn hunt. I would say that's exciting, but honestly, I feel like it's probably just going to be regurgitated information. Hopefully, searchers could get a few answers. I really wish Jack would make an appearance, but honestly, I'm not getting my hopes up because I feel like this documentary is for the masses that don't know about the hunt, right? It's not geared towards giving us answers. So, I don't know. I'm going to watch it, but, I'm not getting my hopes up too much. But I definitely am excited about Beyond the Map's Edge. Pre ordered the book. Possibly will make videos on that as well. All right, so the next thing I want to bring up is the American Treasure Podcast, Dave Colonna, the Q&A. Thank you, Dave. I'm sure you're not watching this video, but he did answer or ask two of my questions. One, he read and then skipped over, and then the other one, JCB answered. So I'm going to go over that real quick. The first question I asked was, JCB, he said that he didn't hide the treasure on private property, but did he contact lawyers about the legalities of hiding the boxes where he hid them? So Dave read that and then was like, oh yeah, a whole bunch of lawyer questions, and then went to the next question. Well, anyone involved in the Forrest Fenn hunt knows that's huge, right? Huge on where he hid it, and are you going to get in trouble for finding it there? Like Jack finding the chest in Yellowstone National Park. That brought a lot of problems, and KPRO has ruled out Yellowstone just because of that. Now, Forrest, he got cancer in 1998 or 88, something along those lines. Anyways, he got cancer, right? And had this idea he was going to have a treasure box and he was going to die by the treasure. So he automatically knew where he wanted to die. So he contacted lawyers later on, right? Like there was no choice in the matter. That's where he wanted to die and that's where it was going to happen. JCB, on the other hand, came up with this idea and then was able to pick 5 different locations through the United States anywhere he wanted. So if he contacted lawyers, and obviously he paid attention to the ending of the treasure hunt, and how it ended and all the problems that were faced, did he eliminate national parks because of that? Did he eliminate Yellowstone because of that? Trust me, the rangers up in Yellowstone do not like treasure hunters. And if they found you with the box, they'd probably confiscate it. Just saying. So, in Jack's email to Forrest when he found it, he said, "Hey, I found your abandoned property." In the thrill of the chase, Forrest Fenn mentions he left an autobiography just so people would know about the person that abandoned his cache, right? Forrest Fenn used abandoned, Jack used abandoned. I don't see any abandoned language in here. So, can we rule out Yellowstone because of that? So, I'm not going to say unhappy. Thank you, Dave, for reading my questions, but I really wish JCB answered that one. Now, also, there were a lot of tax questions, which is huge, right? I mean, maybe, I don't know if Jack did or not, but I heard that he moved out of the country for a little bit for tax reasons with the treasure. So, huge, right? And maybe that's the incentive maybe that's the incentive JCB left for you to contact him when you find it is, I'll pay your taxes, maybe gift it to you, something along those lines where you receive 100% of the treasure without paying taxes. I feel like, money talks, right? And that would probably be the biggest motivator. Also, if you think about it, why did JCB pick one-of-a-kind items? Items that can be traced and tracked, right? Like the Bitcoins, the cards, the gold medals. I mean, there's so many one-of-a-kind items. Now, JCB gave us, reasons why he picked those, because they're one-of-a-kind, they'll go up in value. But also, you got to think about, right? If you pick one-of-a-kind items, you're not going to be able to find this chest and then sell it without him knowing it. Because he's probably watching to see if some of those items go up for auction or for sale. So, I mean, to me, that makes sense that he would buy those items for that reason as well. Is you're not going to be able to sell it without him knowing. Another way of him knowing if a treasure has been found, right? So, taxes, huge. Where he left the treasure, huge, but they weren't answered. So, JCB did answer the next question I had. I had 4. He answered, well, in a roundabout way, he answered it. But I asked, how did he preserve these items? If it's not a proxy, if he actually put these treasures inside the treasure chest and hid them, how did he go about preserving the items like the Michael Jordan rookie card, the Charizards, the Amelia Earhart signed photo, and the Thoreau journal, right? How did he go about protecting those? Because like I said, humidity, rain, snow, any sort of moisture, anything cold will hurt those cards and the treasures inside, right? You look at the pictures that Jack took when he found the chest. I mean, it was filled with water. He left a key in there and it rusted on one of the coins. There was damage. Also, you got to think about the autobiography. Forrest Fenn um, had a very unique process on how he dipped the lid in wax and then did it a couple times, and it was very specific on how he did it so no moisture would get inside of the autobiography. Now, I really hope JCB did the same thing and protected the autobiography, because it would really suck, right, if you did find the Forrest Fenn box and the autobiography is ruined because of snow and rain, right? So, very important. If it's not a proxy and you did that, how did you preserve the items? JCB said that he spent a lot of time thinking about how to preserve it, and even the boxes are treasure in themselves, so he didn't want them to get damaged as well, right? So he spent a lot of time researching and they're protected. So then that brings the next question, right? When your boots on the ground, what exactly are you looking for? If the boxes are being preserved, obviously they are placed inside of something, right? So when you're out there, boots on the ground, searching, you're not looking for this box that's on my screen right here. You're going to be looking for something else. Is it a Pelican briefcase? Or, what sort of mechanism, or, how did he go about preserving these boxes? If they're placed in something, you know, then what could it be? What are you looking for when you're out there boots on the ground? So if you are searching and you do find something weird, a box, a Pelican briefcase, whatever it may be, you definitely need to check it out, because maybe that's how he preserved these boxes. So the question that I really wanted answered, Dave did not bring up, but it was a little girl from India question. Now, people not familiar with the Forrest Fenn hunt may be like, what the hell are you talking about? But the question is along these lines. So, if a little girl from India only had the book, There's Treasure Inside, and a map, would she be able to figure out where these treasures are hidden? Do you need the internet? Do you need a computer? Do you need to research stuff? What extra stuff do you need to find these treasures? Is it truly, do you only need the book and a pair of shoes, apparently? But is that all you need, or do you need more? And that question was not asked, and I feel like that would have really helped out with us searchers if it did. So, if anyone out there listening is able to ask JCB a question, whether you're a YouTuber or whatever, ask that question. Okay. All right, let's get in the meat and potatoes of this video. So, in the introduction, on page 17, JCB says, learn from these stories, maybe even apply their teachings, and you will be well on your way. Okay, so learn from these stories and apply their teachings. So, let's go to page 121, and that is the Michael Jordan chapter. All right, so in this chapter, he talks about Michael Jordan, obviously, but he brings up a funny story about a middle school basketball game where he gets a rebound and he rushes off in the wrong direction and scores a basket for the other team. So he said, I had gotten too excited, rushed off in the wrong direction, and managed to completely humiliate myself. So here's a good lesson for my two kids when they grow older. Don't be like I was, overexcited and out of control. rushing off with no sense of direction. If you can channel your inner Michael Jordan, it will help you finding whatever treasure you are looking for. So, what can we take from the story? Getting too excited and rushing off in the wrong direction? Now, if we apply that teaching to the lion chair box, it is possible that you may find the general area of this box and walk right past it with no sense of direction. So what direction could we be possibly looking for, right? So on page 237, there is a poem named Joy's Serenade. I'm not going to read this whole poem, but I do want to bring up a little bit. On page 238, it says, "If you get warm, you may find shady oaks." I believe this poem is how you are going to find the lion's share box. I believe that you're supposed to read this and you're supposed to use the book to figure out what this poem means. So if we do that, if we use this poem and then go back through the book, it says, if you get warm, which means if you get close to the treasure or in the general area, you may find shady oaks. When close, the haiku curls a little further on where few have seen it. So it continues on where a few have seen it. Okay, so let's go to page 182. And this is chapter 21, Antiquities of Alexander. It says, make it make sense. Page 182. Oak leaves were emblems of wisdom, strength, and endurance, but oak leaves also contained a more mystical meaning. Ancient priests believed they received guidance from Zeus when listening to the wind rustling through the branches of the oak trees. The rustle of oak leaves was his voice. So, they received guidance from Zeus when listening to the wind rustle through the branches of the oak trees. And then in the poem it says, if you get close, you may find shady oaks, right? I feel like if you find the general area of the lion's share box, there's going to be oak trees, and that is where you diverge from the path. I believe that you're going to be walking by, and if you don't go through the oak trees, you're going to miss the lion's share box. Now, also, I know there's no hints in part 1 to part 2, but there's also oak trees and oak leaves in the Pokemon chapter, right? So, oak trees are big in at least 2 of these treasure boxes, or their solves. Alright, so that brings up the next thing, right? There's themes all through this book. So the theme that is brought up in my mind when it says listening to the wind rustling through the branches of the oak trees, it brings me back to page 65. Chapter 6, Rubies to Wear. JCB says, like a wise breeze blowing in the direction I need to go, inspiration guides me. When I follow, even if it leads me to a place different than I was expecting, it's almost always better than I imagined. I repeat, like a wise breeze blowing in the direction I need to go. And then bring you back to page 182, right? They receive guidance when listening to the wind rustling through the branches. So if the wind's blowing into the oak tree, right? Maybe that's the direction you need to go, through the oaks. But, I mean, there's more breeze themes, right? Like the shipwreck chapter, and a few other places. So, very, very interesting. So you have the oak trees, and if you're getting warm, and then you have the breeze theme, and then the next theme, which I think is probably just important, is perspective. So page 172 in this chapter, chapter 20, the six-figure birthstone. And I want to read you the quote. Where you stand determines what you see and what you do not see. It determines also the angle you see it from. A change in where you stand changes everything. Let's go a little further on to page 176. And it says, the garnet was discovered by a miner named Campbell Bridges. Bridges claimed he was walking along the countryside of, I'm not even gonna pronounce it, I'm sorry, one sunny afternoon, minding his own business. Out of nowhere, for no reason he could surmise, a nearby buffalo started charging at him, head down and horns up. To avoid death, Bridges jumped out of the way of the buffalo's charge and landed face down into a ditch. When Bridges lifted his head up from the dirt, he noticed a glimmer of green amongst an outcrop of rock in the ravine. Did I read that right? He noticed a glimmer of green amongst an outcrop of rock in the ravine. Kind of rhymes. Sorry. Shaken and confused, he didn't take the time to examine the green rock right then. He went straight home. Still, Bridges could never shake the image of the shimmering green stone from his mind. Bridges searched in the general area for 7 more years for this elusive green stone before he had made official discovery. Interesting, right? He was face down in a ditch to see this green glimmer amongst the outcrop of rock. Which brings me to, excuse me, page, what is that page? Sorry, I had it written down, I thought, but it brings me to the chapter. Hold on one second, guys. I apologize. I thought I read. Oh, there it is right here. Chapter 9. Confirmation bias, the golden chalice, right? So it says, their densely packed inscriptions were made in a way that forced our visitors to lie on the ground to read them. Changing your perspective. Interesting. Laying down, head close to the ground to see something. Did JCB hide the lion's share box in an outcrop of rock where you have to lay down to see it? Maybe that's why you need to change your perspective. And also, maybe you have to go through a grove of oak trees to find this outcrop of rock. Just a few things that I saw that I wanted to bring up. I feel like this is going to be trivial for anyone that wants to find this box. This is huge. I feel like there's a good chance someone's going to find the general area and walk right past it. Now, how heartbroken would you be if that happened to you? So apply the teachings. Do not force clues. Don't use confirmation bias. Let the book guide you to these boxes. I see so many people that are just forcing clues, and just throwing something together when it doesn't make sense. Let the book guide you and use JCB's advice, right? Don't use confirmation bias. Use the book. Use the clues in the book and let it take you to the treasure chest. So, anyways, guys, that's it for this video. The next video, I am going to do a Force Finbox video. I feel like anything that's mentioned in that chapter is probably fair game. So there's a few things that I saw for, OG Fin searchers. This information is probably not going to be new to you, but if you did, if you did not read The Thrill of the Chase, I feel like this next video is going to be really important to you because I feel like it is fair game and it's something that I'm currently working on and I feel like it might be important to the solve. So stay tuned for that video and I will see you guys later.